Bridge Channel 8, keeping you informed on events in your community.
We have a roll call of the members, please.
Ann Brinkman.
Present.
Ellen Bucknam.
Present.
Mark Dietrich is absent. Tracy Gildner.
Present.
Dick Matthews.
Here.
Scott Ohm.
Here.
And Steve Timms is absent.
Okay. Can we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chair, I would like to approve the order of the agenda with the substitution of moving item number 9, resolution designating a public place for posting of notices, up to right after 7, and move the study session down lower.
Second. Okay, call for a vote, please.
And the motion passes 5-0.
I move for approval of the minutes of the December 15th, 2011 meeting.
Second. Call for the vote, please.
And that motion passes 5-0.
It was actually, I should have been, I hit the abstain button, but I.
Oh, okay. And you're abstaining also. And Commissioner Ohm, I have you in the wrong place on the voting board. So I'm going to switch that.
All right. Can we vote again on that? We have a second, but can we revote?
Sure.
All right.
And that motion passes with Commissioners Gildner and Matthews abstaining.
All right. Next item on the agenda is the public forum. This is the time for any person to speak on any subject not appearing on the agenda. If you are here to speak on the case that is before us tonight, you will have the opportunity to do so. But this is a chance for anyone to speak on items not on the agenda tonight. Do we have anybody?
And we have nobody signed up to speak.
Okay, thanks, Meredith. All right, I'll open up the public hearing. Case number MS-11-06, an application filed by Ved Varma for a 3-lot consolidation plat on property zoned Commercial 1 and located at 5795 West 29th Avenue. And can we hear from the city? Meredith.
You bet. Is Jesse back? Oh, thank you. Good evening. For the record, Meredith Record, Wheat Ridge Community Development Department. And before I get started, I would point out that we've got Tim Peranto, the Director of Public Works, at the staff table, and also Lauren Mikulak, if you have questions for either of them. Case number MS-11-06 is a request for approval of a 3-lot consolidation plat for property zone C1 at 5795 West 29th Avenue, so just down the street from City Hall. I'd like to enter into the record the subdivision regulations, zoning ordinance, case file, and packet materials, and the contents of this digital presentation. The property is within the city, and all correct posting and notification requirements have been met. Therefore, the Commission does have jurisdiction to hear this case. Again, this is a request for a 3-lot consolidation plat on property zone C1, and the purpose of that is to remove the internal lot lines to accommodate building remodel and expansion. You can see on the overhead the property which is outlined in blue, and just to help orient you, north would be to the top. 29th Avenue runs along the south side with Fenton Street over on the west. The blue lines in the picture designate the different lot lines. The property, and we see a lot of this in this particular area. It was included in a plat back in the late 1800s called Olinger Gardens. And as such, we see all the properties in this area typically subdivided into 25-foot wide lots. So it's pretty common for us to see one parcel that's got several pieces of it. It is at the northwest corner, or northeast corner of 29th and Fenton, is Zone C1. The property does have an existing structure on it. Parcel size is about 15,000 square feet, and it does have a one-story concrete building, which you can see in the overhead. That was built in the late 50s, and it's about 1,500 square feet in size. It does have a convenience store on the western portion in this area, and then an attached car wash on the east. As you can see from the site photo, there's you can see the existing improvements on the property. We've got some landscaping to the north side of the building, but primarily the rest of it is paved with 2 freestanding gas pumps and parking, and so on. There is a public alley which is located directly to the east of the property, and that runs between 29th and 30th Avenue on the north. There was a streetscape project in 2003 that was completed along 29th Avenue, and the result of that were these improvements that were put in place along the 29th Avenue frontage that included some patterned concrete amenity zone with some tree grates, some pedestrian lighting, and there's a little short wall that was built at the corner intersection. On Fenton Street, there is attached curb and gutter with an attached sidewalk. The property owner is proposing demolition of the eastern portion of the building, so the car wash portion with reconstruction to allow interior remodel and an addition which will accommodate liquor sales. They have gone through the liquor license process and were approved for that license in July of last summer. As far as the existing land uses and zoning in the area, it's kind of a hodgepodge. To the north is R3 zoning with the Wheat Ridge Manor Nursing Home. We've got residential properties to the east across the alley zoned R1C. To the west is the Ashland Reservoir water holding system owned by Denver Water, and that is zoned R1, I believe, which seems silly, but it is. And then to the south is an existing car repair facility with C1 zoning. So let's take a look at some of the slides. So this first slide, I'm standing on 29th Avenue looking west. The property is off on the right-hand side, and you can see those existing improvements that were put in place as part of that streetscape project that the city undertook. The lighted intersection in the background is the intersection of 29th and Fenton. Standing on 29th Avenue looking across to the north, you can see the existing alley, and then of course this is the car wash portion of the existing structure that is going to be demolished, convenience store located on the western side. And again, a more centered view of that with the gas islands. Moving across the property, still looking north. This picture is taken at the intersection of 29th and Fenton, looking north on Fenton Street. The big block wall over on the left-hand side is the Ashland Reservoir, part of those, that ownership by Denver Water. And the red brick buildings over here, kind of in the, towards the right-hand side, is part of the Wheat Ridge Manor Nursing Home. This is a view looking from Fenton to the east at the western side of the existing structure. This is the existing plat that we're deciding about tonight. Again, you can see the layout of it. It is a one-sheet plat. It's pretty simple. We've got all the typical legal description and ownership blocks and that kind of thing. You can see the property and the 3 parcels that it's combined or comprised of. As far as right-of-way dedication, we do not need any dedication for either 29th or Fenton, although there is a small little radius at the corner that would get dedicated, and in addition 8 feet for the public alley, which is directly to the east. The owner is in for a building permit to allow for the expansion that's still in process. I would note that in lieu of new construction of public improvements on both Fenton and 29th, that they will go ahead and pay fees to the city in lieu of construction, particularly in light of the Ashland Reservoir project coming up shortly. Let's see, staff does conclude that the proposed consolidation plat meets all the requirements of Article 4 of the subdivision regulations in the zoning code. And as far as utilities, all of the responding agencies can serve the property with the building permit improvements. Wheat Ridge Water, Sanitation, and Fire can serve the property with upgrades. Wheat Ridge Economic Development did not express any concerns with it and actually supports the project because of the investment in the property. The Wheat Ridge Police Department has no concerns, and Public Works has reviewed and approved the plat. Again, dedications for the intersection corner radius and the alley are required, and fees in lieu of construction are required for the street frontages for both 29th and Fenton. So in conclusion, staff does support this application because it does meet the requirements of the subdivision regulations, and that all agencies can serve with the improvements indicated with the building permit approval and so on, and we are giving a recommendation of approval. That does conclude the staff comments. I would be happy to answer questions.
Questions for Meredith? Ann?
Meredith, can you go back? Yeah, to that picture.
Yep.
In the very top right.
Over here?
Yes. Taking into account the alley, if you notice, the car is parked right where.
Yes, I see that white car.
Yeah. So that car right now is parked illegally?
That's hard to say. I mean, it looks like it's on dirt. I would assume it's on dirt off the alley. As to what car, who it belongs
Yeah.
with?
If it might not belong to them, it might belong to the Wheat Ridge Manor.
That is
That's what I mean.
correct.
So that would have to be worked out between the owner and Wheat Ridge Manor, right?
Right. I mean, technically, unless you have some sort of shared parking agreement,
Right.
you're supposed to park your own cars on your own property.
Right.
If you look at the picture on Fenton,
Yeah.
and the cars parked up and down, and especially if you live in the
Yeah, I know.
neighborhood, they have some parking issues that we've been working with them
Yep.
to resolve.
And I buy gas there, so.
Yeah, you do. Okay.
I
So
am.
you're aware.
And then I just had a question. You just made a reference to the project coming up with the reservoir. Is that something you can talk about, or?
Well, it's not really part of the application, but I'll just touch on it briefly.
I just wanted to understand why you had mentioned it in response to in lieu of the.
Okay.
That's
Well,
fine.
and we did have a study session in front of City Council on December 19th, so about a month ago, regarding this project. It's a major capital improvement project that's going to be undertaken by Denver Water for reconstruction of the reservoir. Some pretty significant traffic impacts. Part of the reason we are having them not do any improvements along the front at this point is because this whole area right here is going to be straightened out as part of the Ashland project. Okay. So we didn't want them, making a lot of investment on something that's going to be ripped out.
I get it. Okay. I was just trying to understand the reference. Thank you.
Okay. Dick?
Yeah, so to beat the dead horse, the fees in lieu of construction are for the sidewalks, et cetera, that they will not be putting in, but will be putting in after the construction project, after the...
And Tim, help me with this. We have somewhat of a new policy for the installation of public improvements. It's something that you guys saw, I think, back in November or early December. And Tim, do you want to expand on that?
Yes. The Fenton Street will be required to have detached sidewalk because of the new policy. And the work that would be required if we didn't know that the street was going to be straightened along 29th would consist of closing the one driveway, the west driveway.
So over here in this location?
That little area would be closed, and they would match the streetscape that we currently have on 29th, put in one more, or move one of the tree wells over there. And what we're going to do is not have them spend that money because it would go to waste, And then the work along Fenton, because we're going to have to rebuild the street return, the curve at the corner, it makes sense for us to go ahead and do those as part of the city project along Fenton rather than have them try to build part and leave part open. So that's the extent of the work that they'll be deferring.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions for Meredith? Meredith, one quick question. I noticed you mentioned that there would be an 8-foot utility easement on the east in the alley. I also noticed on the plat document, I think it's Exhibit 2, there's a 10-foot utility easement on the north granted to the city.
Well, the 8-foot on the east is actually right-of-way that's going to be dedicated for the alley, so that'll become city ownership as it should be.
Okay.
Since it serves other properties.
So then there's also an 8-foot utility easement on the east as well as a 10-foot utility easement on the north.
Okay. And typically with commercial construction, we sort of negotiate those as the construction occurs. A lot of times XL will come in and negotiate with somebody who's doing the improvements separately. So those might be existing easements as well.
I see. Okay. All right. Thank you. If there are no other questions for Meredith, would like to hear from the applicant if they would like to say anything about the case before us. If not, that's okay. But this is your opportunity if you'd like to speak. If you could come up and state your name and address. And
Mr. Chairman, my name is Ved Varma. I'm the architect for the project.
okay.
And if you have any questions, I can answer those.
Do we have questions? Any questions? Okay. I guess we don't have any questions, but thank you for being available. All right. Okay, I have also, now's the time when we will hear from the public, anyone who wants to speak on this case. I have two names that were on the list, on the register up front, and I'll just read them off, and if after I read off your name, if you would like to speak, you may. I also note that both of the people who are listed here are opposed to the project. If you just want to indicate your opposition, that's fine, but if you'd like to expand on that, feel free to come up. Marilyn Hamlin? No? Okay. And Irene Hamlin? Okay. I do note that you are both... okay. All right. But we do note that you are both opposed to the case before us tonight. All right. So we've heard from everybody we need to hear from. We can entertain motions or ask further questions.
I move to recommend approval of case number MS-11-06, a request for approval of a 3-lot consolidation plat on C1 zoned property located at 5795 West 29th Avenue for the following reasons. All requirements of Article 4 of the Zoning and Development Code have been met, and all utility providers can serve the property.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All right, I'll call for a vote, please.
And the motion passes 5-0.
All right. I'd like to thank the applicants and the city and everyone else who came in regarding this issue for their time. Next item up on the agenda is a resolution designating a public place for posting of notices of public meetings.
I move that we resolve to designate a public place for the posting of meeting notices as required by the Colorado Open Law.
Do we have a second?
I second it.
I have a question.
Okay.
Item number 2. The Community Development Director or his designee shall be responsible for posting the required notices no later than 24 hours prior to holding of the meeting. We give only 24 hours notice?
No, we don't.
I want to clarify
I
that.
mean, we do different things for different meetings.
Okay.
And different cases. So, for
Okay.
example, any sort of quasi-judicial case like tonight or rezoning has to be done 15 days in advance. Any sort of zoning ordinance amendment has to be done 7 days in advance. So I think 2 is the minimum. We have to give notice every time we hold a meeting, which
Okay.
is more than 4. So that's kind of like the extreme. If we were just like having a study session, an emergency study session.
You'd have to post it within no later than 24 hours before the
Yes.
meeting. Okay.
That makes sense.
Yes, it does. I was just questioning that wording. Thank you.
Just a quick question on that, I know that out in the lobby, the entire meeting packet is posted.
Yes.
Is that the only meeting packet that's posted anywhere? Or
It is. Of course, we have a packet, I believe, in the city clerk's office. We have packets upstairs, and then we also have the packet online.
They put it on.
So,
Which is where I got this.
and look at Mr. Bucknam there. So
Fancy.
people,
Andy.
people are pretty good about trying to get the information. If people have questions, they also call, and we'll drop them a staff report in the mail or what have you.
So by definition, really, that posting can't be available until we have received our packets, because you post the entire packets, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay.
We're at the vote.
I'm sorry, did we have a second?
We did.
Okay, then I'll call for a vote.
It wasn't me. I didn't
I
second.
believe it was Tracy. That's right. Okay, I'll call for a vote then, please.
And that motion passes 5-0.
All right. That ends our public hearing, and we will now go into study session, planned unit developments.
So I know that you all have seen Lauren before. It's been probably a while.
Wheat Ridge Channel 8, keeping you informed on events in your community.